Hey Lisa, how are you?
I'm good, good.
Excellent. So I want to talk today a little bit about your experience at the at the residency.
Okay.
I know we all kind of create an expectancy of what we want to take out of it, and we come ambitiously with an idea, and then it turns out to be something else. So my first question is, what was your expectation, and what kind of happened?
Okay, so I don't know if I really had a clear idea of what to expect because this is also new to me. But just based on what the residency, I guess, was supposed to be, it met those expectations. Because I know when I first met with Dan and Danielle, they both said, this is your space, create it to be whatever you want it to be. We will leave you alone with your thoughts and you can do whatever you want to do. And that's exactly what has happened. I see them, they pass, they wave, and
Right.
they just let me do whatever I want to do. So I've spent the time just experimenting and just in my own thoughts.
Right.
Yeah, so it has met my expectations of having the opportunity, the space to create.
So you didn't have like a body of work in mind that you were trying to do.
So I did, yes. Was preparing for a exposition,
Okay.
by hand and by heart, which will be on view at the Orlando Regional History Center.
Okay.
So that was one of the main things that I was working on. And my goal was to have it completed, which I've already done. But outside of that, the opportunity was just to experiment, which is exactly what I did.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And within the experimentations, were there any new techniques or formats that kind of like arose during this period?
Yeah. So one of my goals was I've always wanted to paint.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so that was one of the things that I was determined to do, which I have a sample there. I was just making marks on canvas. And then to just explore my technique with fabric.
Yeah.
Do dyeing the fabric, the painting of the fabric, and just manipulation of fabric, which there's an example right here behind me. This was originally a quilt top.
Okay.
And so I decided to completely cut it up and just to redo it all over again. So that's one of those things of just having the space and the time to experiment,
Right.
Which is exactly what I've done.
And so these are going to remain separate, or they're going to quilt them back together?
So I'm going to quilt those back together. So this is my design wall. So I put this up just to look at it,
Right.
and to see if I wanted to make any changes to it. And I think I'm pretty much happy with the way that it looks. So at some point, I'll take each square down and then I'll sew it together and it'll become a quilt top again.
I know that your work is very research based,
Mm-hmm.
right? A lot of, especially the history museum. How did that integrate with the history of this space?
So I found it to be quite fascinating in this perspective of my family. In my family lineage, there was an architect.
Okay.
So my great grandfather was an architect in Tallahassee, and so he built homes that are still standing today. And one of those houses, it has been turned into the Garden Club of Tallahassee.
Okay.
So I've always been fascinated by, I guess, the built environment. And so being here, I've gotten a lot of inspiration from just the built environment and just being able to just to explore a lot of different techniques.
Yeah, because it is like somebody's idea of architecture.
Right. Yeah.
Space.
Yeah. And so I love the idea, or the concept of it was to give artists an opportunity to have their own space and
Yeah.
to explore with no sense of you come here, you have to do a certain project.
Right.
And it's always based on what the artist wanted to do.
Yeah.
So that I really, really love, having that opportunity to do so.
How was the collaboration with the other artists?
So whenever we had our first Saturdays is mostly when I saw them, and I would always admire what they were working on.
Yeah.
And so one day Channing came in and she just gave me a whole bunch of canvas. She was like, girl, just go create. And I was like, okay, thank you. And then I told Carlos, so Carlos stretched it for me and he built a frame and then he attached that canvas to that board. So just that, and they always gave me different pointers because my goal is to not only paint, but to learn to draw a little bit better. And so they were nice enough to share some of their techniques that helped them along the way, and they passed it on to me.
Excellent. Yeah. Good to hear, because I always wonder how the collaboration kind of takes place.
Yeah. And the colors, some of the colors that Channing uses. And actually just last Saturday, I was talking to her about some of her paints and how she comes up with some of her colors and that kind of thing.
You and her have had more of a connection.
Yeah,
it happens. That's that's one of the things I was thinking of, like for the future of the residencies, how to create more, like my time here. As I think back, like one thing, I did have good collaboration with everyone, but I had an idea that we would have a lot more than we actually did. So there was less than I anticipated, but at the same time, it all becomes like this work about yourself.
Right.
It's really not about being out there as much.
And you know what? I think I got more inspiration from some of the visitors, because on first Saturdays, I always look forward to first Saturdays, because most of the people that would come in, they were artists.
Right.
And so they would say, oh, I like what you're doing. And I said, well, tell me about your practice. And they would tell me, and we would exchange ideas.
Right.
So I think there was a sense of community in a way, but it was with the broader community, because when we're here, we're focused in our own little areas, and we're doing our own little thing. And every now and then we pop out and we would talk to each other. But I guess my biggest inspiration came from a lot of the artists outside that would come through and visit.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was proposing the idea for the future to maybe do, since we're going to have more spaces open in the future residencies, to create work on an exhibition between perhaps like 2 or 3 residents, or maybe even alumni that has already been through the process. So aside from your work that you're kind of concentrated on, to think of a collaboration between the others, and maybe that creates a little bit more of a
contact and interaction.
Which I'm still debating whether, do we really need more of that community, or this is more about self-exploration?
Yeah. I mean, I think both are good. That's a good idea.
Sorry to throw that out there.
No, it's okay. I mean, it really is a good idea, because you think about it, you're here and your practice might be something, mine might be something else.
Yeah.
But at some point, we could collaborate on some project down the road. Maybe not necessarily during the residency. Maybe, like you said, something down the road as a collaboration.
Especially sometimes people, some artists come in not necessarily with a full plan, and then that gives you at least some direction to be working on as you explore. And I have been part of like artist studios with different artists, and I always found it very enriching. And I did get a lot from the artists that were here, but I guess I thought I wanted more of that.
So when you were here, were most of the artists, were they painters, or
we had a lot of painters.
Okay. Yeah.
That was except one. No, we had. Yeah, everybody was a painter. Actually,
everybody was a painter. Yeah.
But we're gonna start having more residencies, so the pool starts to get bigger.
Yeah.
And
because I felt like not the odd man out, but the only one who wasn't a painter, but the techniques that they use, it could be applied to fabric.
Of course.
And so I'm constantly wanting to learn different and new techniques to be able to change the colors of my paint on my fabric.
These work look beautiful against paintings. If anything, it's best because it has an opposing genre to it. Like the way Shannon is working now with textile and painting on the side, they look beautiful together. Yeah.
Exactly.
So how do you think that you'll be able to transfer this experience into the future? Well, I know you're working on a show, so that's definitely one. But beyond that show, how do you think, or that show actually is a big part of it, but beyond that, how do you think you're going to transfer this experience?
So I always considered myself to be a pretty disciplined person,
Good.
but I had a studio at home, and I realized that the level of discipline that I gained here, it doesn't even compare to what I did at home.
Agree.
And so that's the biggest takeaway for
Yeah.
me, is that I can be all over the place, but having to be here X number of hours, it has really made me focus, which is, I think, what I need, because I'm ready to move my practice to the next level. So I realized that in order to do so, I need to consistently every day do something. So if I don't take anything else away from this residency, that was discipline. And like I say, I'm a pretty disciplined person, but I kicked it up a notch.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
exactly the same experience.
Yeah.
And it was that I thought I was disciplined.
And you just realize, like, I'm doing all of these other things and not necessarily putting the
Yeah.
hours in. Like, you have all of these great ideas,
Yeah.
but then it's actually just focusing. And I think it's discipline and focus is
I
what
think I was disciplined, but I wasn't efficient. And I learned you realize the conditions are important.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, my practice, like in my house, it's just, there's always some sort of a distraction.
Yeah.
And then the sitting, coming here, and if it was 4 hours, it was just 4 hours of highly productive.
Mm-hmm.
Where I was just concentrating with no interruption.
Exactly.
That's how you get in a flow.
Yeah.
That's how you really like feel like you're digging into your own practice and feeling. And I've had a hard time finding that again. I've kept the discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm actually in the process of transferring to a new studio because I need to create those conditions away from my house. And if anything, I learned that I need to work away from my house.
Away from now. So on average, like, how many hours a day are you dedicating to your art practice?
I mean, I work daily.
Yeah, and I know it, and I guess that's probably an odd question, because you're always in the thought of something, but actually doing physically working on a project, how many?
Well, what I found that I liked here was, so my personal practice is a little distracting because I work with sculptures and I work with paintings.
Mm-hmm.
So the what I lack in my practice is a lot more experimentations. I'm too like goal oriented, where I need to start. I need to feel like I'm working on something that I'm going to finish.
Yeah.
And I need to. So now I've been giving myself like I do a discipline of an hour a day of just doodling and messing around and just feeling things out. And then I have my part where I work on sculptures, and then I work on painting. Gotcha. So if I'm feeling stuck in painting, I go to sculptures, which is sort of like my hands. Mm-hmm. And I really developed my practice is mainly painting, but through the working with the hands, it really brings me to like a memory of the body, and like trusting the body and letting go of the mind more. And
just being in that moment.
Being in the moment and just kind of like, and trying to then work off of what came out of my hands, not so much my mind.
Yeah. So like I said, that's the biggest takeaway for me, is just the discipline and the focus. Yeah. And I hopefully I can maintain that.
Yeah. And the history show, when is that going to be?
So the opening day is September the 3rd.
Okay.
And then it runs until March of 2027.
And the show is about?
The show is called By Heart and By Hand. And so it's African-American crafters who create by heart and by hand.
I love that.
By heart and by hand. So actually I submitted 2 pieces for it. One is titled What the Water Remembered. And so back to your other question about my research. So I am doing a lot of research about my family history. And so my family comes from the Carolinas, the Low Country. And so that one, What the Water Remembered, I guess it's really my jumping off point for everything else that I'm going to be doing in that series, because it centers on me. as a 5 or 6 year old, surrounded by water, and in that water, I have fish, I have oysters, which the family that we lived off the water, and so people would always harvest oysters. And I can remember as a child going to oyster roast in my aunt's front yard. And then there's the netting that ties back to the fish. And then the other one is again centered on my my maternal family side. It centers on my mother's great grandfather, who was a politician in Leon County in Tallahassee. And he was elected right after during Reconstruction. And so that is that other side of the family. And there's a picture of him on it, and then the hands that elected him. So doing the research, I realized that only men could vote.
Both at the time.
Yeah, men who were landowners were the only ones who could vote. And so on the bottom of it, I have ties that belong to my dad. So I have the hands made out of ties to show that those men would have been, I guess, people that would have been revered in the town. They would have come dressed probably in their finest.
Right.
So that represents the tie and, that kind of thing. So those two quilts, which are the starting points for researching both sides of my family.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
Have you read Ta-Nehisi Coates? There's
10,000 Coats?
No, Ta-Nehisi Coates is a writer.
No.
He has his last book is something similar to Remember of the Water.
Huh, I have to look that up.
Yeah, look that up. It kind of sounds a lot like what you're working on.
Yeah, because water has always been an important part of like my growing up, because my father's side is from South Carolina, and then my mother is from St. Augustine, which there's water there. There was a lot of fishing.
I love that place.
Yeah. And you know what? And it's
great history.
Great history, and I'm seeing it as, I remember it as a child.
Yeah.
But now I'm seeing it as through the eyes of an adult who's really, really interested in the history. It's like, oh my gosh, this place is fascinating. It's fascinating. Every Saturday growing up, we drove from Jacksonville to St. Augustine.
Yeah.
And I got to a point where I just hated, because it was everything. It was the same thing. It was going to my grandmother's house, sitting on her porch. And now I'm finding myself thinking, in my mind, I have this next series. It's called When We Gather.
Okay.
And when we gathered as a family, we gathered on the porch. Right. And the porch played such an important part of our family, all gatherings, everything, celebrations, everything happened on the porch.
Right.
And so that's one of my next things that I really want to work on. But yeah, both families, it's a lot of, I'm remembering.
And it's very Florida.
It's very Florida. The front porch. That's where everything happens. Yeah. In all of my memories, I flashback birthdays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, everything happened right there on the front porch. And that was our space to commune. And I didn't really realize how important that was as a family until I got a lot older. Yeah. And then we sort of moved in a little bit to the family dining table. But for the most part, everything happened in my grandmother's front yard, and it happened on the porch.
Yeah.
So one of my next series is called When We Gather.
I love that.
Yeah. And it's so powerful to think about it, families and, just gathering with family and just being, which I think we've sort of moved away from that. And I really miss that. Yeah. I miss that a lot, because as a child, my mom was one of 10 and my dad was one of 7.
Wow.
So
it's a lot of cousins.
That's a lot. It's a lot of family, but I think about those are some of the happiest times that we were always gathering. Yeah. There was the food that went along with it. It was all of these things that now as a child, it's like, oh, why are we doing it? Why are we having this, whatever again? Yeah. And I also see it as a way of my family passing down traditions. without saying, okay, we're going to pass down some traditions today.
Yeah.
It was just the doing of the thing over and over and over again. So now it's like, oh, I really want that. I want that, and to research it and to share, because people of my generation, we all pretty much had a lot of the same experiences. You went to grandma's house. You had, in my family, we had sweet potato pone. We had the perlo. We had, and all of these were dishes that had significance to the family and to our history that I didn't appreciate. I'll say I didn't appreciate at the time, but now, like, give me some perlo, give me some doobie, right. Give me some of those,
And is it getting lost because like the next generations don't want to do it?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. We have a simple tradition in our family that has been one of my favorites, which is next week I leave to, is that like 30 of us go on vacation together.
Oh, wow.
Since we're kids, we always go. We used to go to the West Coast, Fort Pierce. Sanibel Island.
Sanibel Island, Island.
And it was always this multi-generation that I love. Because it was like the 90-year-old, the 80-year-olds, the little kids loved to be with them, and then like the middle parents like us were free.
Yeah.
To just really
go be with your grandma.
And I talked to like all my nephews and everyone, and it's like their favorite memory was that. And now as they get older, they don't want to go. Or some of like my relatives that are my age are like, I don't want to go there. I don't really like the beach. And I'm like, it's not about the beach.
It's not about us. It's when like, you gather.
It's about our gathering.
Yeah.
That's the important part.
Yeah.
And then everybody, they're all great cooks. So we all have one dish that we cook a week, and you're responsible for. So I'm only responsible for feeding people one day.
What's your dish?
Oh, I have a Coca-Cola pork. With plum.
Oh, I bet that's good.
It's a plum sauce and Coca-Cola pork loin that the kids love.
What day are you cooking that? Dang, let me know. I'll drive over. But it's those things. It's we go and we do all of these things, but as we get older, it's just those small things that bring us back to a happier time. And, like my grandmother is still alive. She's 99. And her birthday is February 14th. And I drove up.
That's my birthday.
That's your birthday?
Yes.
So we drove up, and, my grandkids sung happy birthday to her. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh my God, my grandmother got to meet my grandkids.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there just like trying to soak it all in and just stay composed. Yeah. But she said, oh yeah, I'm going to make it to 100. And we were like, well, you're right there.
Yeah.
You're right there. But that's one of those things. It's just the small things. And as I think about my grandmother getting older, I think about, once she transitions, those things that would be lost, because everything was done at her house.
Yeah.
And so it just sort of.
I know how you were bringing I lost a lot with my grandfather. Like the tradition kind of broke down.
Yeah.
The Christmas pork. Because he had a landscaping business, and then he worked 7 days a week. Except when he was like 70, he had a mild heart attack, and the doctor told me to slow down, so he started working 6 days a week.
Yeah, that's slowing down. For him, that was slowing down a lot.
But his thing that he loved was he would do like 4 pigs on the roasting, and then just invite all his clients to come by, and he would give food to everyone. Feeding people was what he loved to do. Just feed people.
Yeah.
And it was just this caravan of people all day long coming to the house. But you can never recreate that. You can't. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that was the same thing with my grandmother's house. Her door was never locked.
Right.
It was always food.
Right.
There was always this pot on the stove cooking something.
It
was like this gigantic pot, and there was always something. And you just knew that whenever you went to grandma's house, you're going to be fed.
Yeah.
Fed well. Yeah. Just physically, spiritually, and mentally, you were just going to be fed, because that's where everybody came. She had 10 kids. There was always someone there, someone in and out, grandkids in and out. And it was good times. Yeah.
That's I try to pass that on to my 2 daughters now. And I think it's more of like to let go of this sense of individuality, you know, that it's about communities. We're not that important. We're just we're part of a puzzle.
Right.
That requires everyone. No one is well until everybody's well.
Everybody, you know, and ironically, I was just reading a post, and I screenshotted it, and it said that, you know, once upon a time we had community where if someone needed something, someone sent out the word, and then those things that were needed, or even if someone didn't say that they needed it, but they could tell that it was needed, it just appeared.
Right.
And so we had this community within a community where we always we help one another, and now
it goes all in the process, and it's funny. I mean, not funny, but it's always in where we think we have more wealth, where we think we have more, but you constantly see the rejection of wanting to return to when we had less.
And we were wealthier when we had less.
Because in reality, we were wealthier.
We were wealthier, because we had everything that you needed. Yeah, you didn't want.
Right.
You didn't want for anything.
Yeah. And I think it's mainly because there was a lot more community.
Yeah, it was a lot more community.
I spent all my childhoods in living rooms of grandparents, of uncles, it was always houses full of people.
It was full, me too. It was always, you know, there were always people, and it was just that we didn't necessarily have to do anything, but we were just together.
And that was a little enough comfort too. To be with that many people, it's uncomfortable. Like everybody has different opinions that you don't agree with, but you're with them. Because it's part of being together is the fun part. For me, I always loved like the arguments.
You could agree to disagree. Like as a little kid, you'd sit back and listen to the adults disagree. It's like, whoa, I should get some popcorn. This is good. This is good. But and it's weird missing it. And I think that's why I'm just diving so much into my family history, because I'm remembering all of those things, and those were like really, really good times.
Right.
And you know, like some of the recipes and the traditions, they are absolutely being lost because, you know, we're all doing our own little thing. We're trying to get ahead. We're trying to, you know, do that thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're losing the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And recovery. I have a lot of friends from Jacksonville, and Jacksonville to Tallahassee through St. Augustine, there's a really rich history of African American culture, of really well-to-do communities. Like I have one of my closest friends, like she says her grandfather was a dentist, lawyers. I mean, this is really well-educated. In a you wouldn't expect that out of Florida. That's kind of like what always surprises me. Or when I started going to St. Augustine like 15 years ago, and just fell in love with the history of the place. Yeah. Like Haiti's revolution came out of St. Augustine. He was a captain for the Spanish, and after he finished with the Spanish fleet, he went to flee Haiti. He went back to his country, and with all the soldiers, all of that came out of St. Augustine.
That came out. Have you ever heard of the Proctor family?
No.
You have? Okay. So that's my family in St. Augustine.
Okay.
And so Antonio Proctor, he did so much for the Spanish that Spain granted him land in St. Augustine. And so he was one of those people he was an interpreter during the Spanish-American War. Okay. And so now, you know, just learning all of these things, it's like, wow, this is...
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. It's really fascinating, yeah.
Well, this has been amazing. Do you have any final thoughts or for future residents coming in?
Yeah, I would say if someone is watching this and they're thinking about applying, they may say, I'm not ready for it. If not now, when? Yeah. If not you, who?
Right.
So, you know, just sort of get out of your comfort zone, because this has pushed me way out of my comfort zone. And I'm glad that I applied and I pushed myself to do it because it has opened up a whole new world that I didn't necessarily knew existed. So I would say just do it.
Yeah.
You know, do it scared.
Yeah.
But just do it. And you might be surprised what you find on the other end of fear. It might be a world that you dreamt about, but you didn't know existed, but you took that step to get onto the other side of it.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Yeah.